The California sunset cast a warm, golden layer over the massive glass panels of the Ellington estate in Beverly Hills. Grace Hollander, 38, CEO of Hollander Estates, pushed open the heavy French oak door. The hinge let out a thin, cold click. She was home early, 3 hours earlier than planned. Her meeting with the investors from Tokyo had been cancelled because of a strange intuition Grace couldn't explain. All afternoon, her heart had been beating wildly. Her hand trembled slightly when she held her coffee cup. In her mind, a voice repeated over and over, "Go home now." Standing in the grand foyer, its Carrara marble floor reflecting the chandelier's glow, Grace realized the atmosphere today was different. Too quiet. This house was always quiet. But this was the kind of silence stretched tight like a violin string, as if even the walls were holding their breath. She moved softly. Her Louboutins still clicked faintly on the marble. Her Hermès Birkin slid off her shoulder without her noticing. Her eyes were fixed on the hallway leading to the living room, where a thin strip of warm light spilled out like oil. Suddenly, a cold, dry hand clamped over her mouth from behind. Grace jerked, instinct ready to scream, to fight. "Shh!" A man's voice, low, urgent, almost desperate. "Ma'am, please, don't make a sound." The scent of machine oil, wood, and very clean soap, Michael Donnelly's familiar smell. The maintenance manager, 42. Blue eyes, always so calm they seemed hollow. The man Grace only ever saw briefly when signing payroll at the end of each month. But now, that usually expressionless face was full of terror. His hand stayed in front of his lips, signaling absolute silence. Sweat dotted his forehead. His blue eyes pleaded with her, pleaded in a way she had never seen in anyone. Grace shoved his hand away, ready to scream, but that look stopped her. Not the look of an attacker, but the look of a man trying to save someone. "Michael?" she whispered, voice trembling. "What are you doing here? Why—" "I'm sorry," he said quickly, voice ragged. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but if they hear you, if he knows you're home—" He swallowed hard, trying to steady himself. "Your children will be in danger." Time froze. "My children, all 3. Emma, 12, Oliver, 9, Sophie, 6. Grace's heart clenched violently in her chest. "Where are they?" She grabbed his shirt, desperate. "Where are my kids? What is happening?" Michael didn't answer with words. He pointed toward the living room, where the warm light leaked through a cracked door. And from there, a sound emerged. Not laughter, not normal conversation. Crying, small, strained, the kind children make when they try their hardest not to be heard. Grace's knees went weak, but the instinct of a mother, an instinct she thought had died with David 2 years ago, flared alive like a beast awakened. "You need to see this," Michael said, voice breaking. "But please, trust me. Don't let him know you're home. Not yet. Not now." Him, Patrick Ellis, her second husband, the man Grace married 1 year after David's death. The warm smile, the reassuring voice, the promise that he would help her raise the children. The man she thought was the calm after the storm. "What did he do?" Grace whispered, voice shaking like a leaf. Michael met her eyes. In that blue was the hollowed grief of someone who had seen too much and could no longer stay silent. "What he always does," he said, "every time you're not home." Grace's world tilted, but she didn't faint, didn't scream. The mother in her urged, "Look, see the truth, no matter how cruel it is." Michael led her to the door crack. His hands rested gently on her shoulders, not to restrain her, but to brace her, because he knew what she was about to see could break her. "Look," he whispered, "and remember, your children need you steady." Grace leaned toward the crack, and her world collapsed. In the living room with its 6-meter ceiling, the baccarat chandelier glittering, Monet paintings on the wall, a space Architectural Digest once called a heaven of art. 3 children knelt on the cold stone floor. Emma, 12, long brown hair, uniform perfectly pressed, was shaking uncontrollably. Her knees pressed so hard into the marble that the skin had reddened. Her hands were clasped together as if in prayer, but not praying to God, praying for mercy from the man standing before them. Oliver, 9, bit his lip until it bled. Tears streamed down his cheeks that he didn't dare wipe. His head was bowed, his tiny body trembling. Sophie, 6, clutched her old stuffed bear, the last gift from her biological father before he died. Tears drenched her cheeks. Her mouth quivered as if to cry out loud, but she held it in. Her whole body curled in on itself like a small animal cornered. Across from them stood Patrick Ellis in an Ermenegildo Zegna suit, holding a glass of 25-year Macallan whiskey. The handsome face Grace once loved was twisted with fury now. His eyes were steel. His voice, the voice she once found warm, was sharp as a blade. "What did I tell you?" Patrick said evenly. "What did I say about leaving this room messy?" Emma sobbed. "I'm sorry. I'll clean it right away." "Sorry?" Patrick stepped forward, looming over her. Emma recoiled. "Sorry for what? Your mother works day and night. She pays for this house, the clothes you wear, the food you eat. And you? How do you repay her?" Oliver choked out, "We're sorry." "Shut up." Patrick snapped toward Oliver. The boy flinched. "I didn't give you permission to speak. Do you understand?" Oliver nodded frantically, tears falling uncontrollably. Patrick turned back to Emma. "Your mother is lucky to have me. Understand? Without me, she would lose her mind dealing with 3 useless children like you. Your real father is dead. No one wants you. No one but your mother and me. And if you don't learn to obey—" He sipped his whiskey, letting the sentence float like poison. "You'll learn what consequences mean." Sophie burst out, sobbing, "I miss Daddy." Patrick cast a cold glance at the youngest. "Your father is gone. He left your mother with this burden. And you're still crying?" He slammed the glass onto the table. The harsh crack made all 3 children jerk violently. "You are burdens! Do you hear me? Burdens." Behind the door, Grace went numb. Not because of the shock, but because of the realization. This wasn't the first time. The fear in her children's eyes, that was the fear of those who had lived with terror long enough to recognize it. The way they knelt, the practiced motion of someone who had been made to do this before. How long had they endured this? She turned to Michael, tears flooding silently. "How long?" Her voice cracked. Michael lowered his gaze. "Since the 2nd month he moved in." Almost a year. Her children had lived in hell for nearly a year. And she, a mother, never knew. Grace's stomach twisted. She wanted to scream, to burst in and rip Patrick apart. Michael held her back. "Not yet," he murmured. "You need evidence. You need a plan. If he learns that you know and you have no proof, he'll manipulate. He'll flip the script, make you look unstable." Grace stared at him, eyes bloodshot. "Do you have proof?" Michael nodded. "I recorded it, all week. I knew you would need it." A flicker of hope, tiny, but enough to keep her standing. "Show me," she said. "Not yet," Michael replied. "First, you need to see everything, understand everything. Then we move." Grace wanted to protest, but Michael's expression, the look of a man who had calculated every step, who knew Patrick better than she did, made her nod. "Fine," she breathed, "but I swear to God, if he touches my children again. No, Michael said firmly. I won't let that happen anymore, I promise. The way he said it, so fierce, so certain, made Grace realize he wasn't just protecting the children. He was guarding something deeper, a memory, a private wound. But now wasn't the time to ask. Now was the time to watch, to listen, and prepare for the final confrontation. Before we continue this story, take a few seconds to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so we can bring you more meaningful stories like this one. Now, let's rewind time. How did Grace Hollander and Michael Donnelly, two broken souls from opposite worlds, cross paths? And how did a man like Patrick Ellis slip into their lives? 3 years earlier, Grace Hollander wasn't who she is now. She was still the CEO of Hollander Estates, the leading real estate conglomerate in California left to her by her late father. She still lived in the multi-million-dollar Ellington estate, still wore Chanel and Dior, still appeared on the cover of Forbes. But she had something more important. She had David. David Hollander, 40, a gifted architect who had designed the very home they lived in. A man with a warm smile, skillful hands, and a kind heart. Every morning when she woke up, Grace felt lucky to have him. They'd met in college. She studied business. He studied architecture. Love at first sight in the UCLA library. Marriage after 3 years of dating. And a family built in a house David spent 2 years designing. Every little corner filled with love. Emma was born when Grace was 26. 3 years later came Oliver. 3 more, and Sophie arrived. Life was perfect, not because of money, but because of love. David was a wonderful father, taking Emma to piano lessons, playing ball with Oliver, reading to Sophie every night. At night, after the kids were asleep, he would hold Grace on the balcony facing the Malibu Sea and laugh, "You know what? I'm the luckiest man in the world." Grace teased, "Because your wife is beautiful?" "No," David kissed her forehead, "because I have a family that loves one another." That autumn came. One morning in October, David was working in the home office, designing an art museum in San Francisco, the biggest project of his career. At noon, Grace called him down to eat. No answer. She went upstairs and opened the door. David was lying on the floor, eyes closed, breath gone. A brain hemorrhage. No warning signs. The doctors said it was due to a congenital vascular malformation. There was no way to prevent it. 1 minute, alive. The next, gone. Grace didn't cry at the hospital, or at the funeral, or when people offered condolences. She just stood there, holding her children's hands, watching the casket lowered into the ground, and felt a part of her soul being buried with it. The months that followed were hell. Emma, 9, went quiet. She didn't cry, spoke little, just sat in her room looking out the window as if waiting for her dad to return. Oliver, 6, cried every night, clutching his father's shirt, breathing in the familiar cologne, asking, "Where did Dad go, Mom? Why isn't he home?" Sophie, 3, didn't understand and kept asking, "Is Dad at work? When will he come play with me?" And Grace? She didn't know how to answer. She herself asked, "How do you go on living when half of you has died?" She turned into a machine. Up at 5, gym, shower, a quick breakfast, drive the kids to school, at the office by 8, work relentlessly until 10 at night, go home, check if the kids were asleep, then sit alone in the master bedroom, half of the king-size bed empty, drink wine until she passed out. She didn't allow herself time to grieve, because if she stopped, if she let the feelings surge, she would collapse. And the kids needed a strong mother, not a ruin. The truth was, Grace was a ruin. She just hid it beneath an Armani suit and a social smile. The children knew. Children always know. Emma stopped sharing school stories because Mom wasn't listening. Oliver stopped asking about Dad because Mom only said, "He's in heaven," and changed the subject. Sophie stopped hugging Mom because Mom always went rigid. They became four strangers living under one roof. Grace knew it, but didn't know what else to do. She was exhausted. No one came to save her. At the same time, somewhere else, a man was drowning in his own grief. Michael Donnelly, 40, a senior aerospace engineer at Boeing, who had designed safety systems for a new generation of aircraft. A brilliant career, high pay, a wide-open future. But more importantly, he had Catherine. Catherine Donnelly, 38, an elementary school teacher with a sunshine smile and a golden heart. The woman Michael had fallen in love with at first sight in a Seattle coffee shop 20 years earlier. And Lily Donnelly, 8, curly blonde hair, an angelic smile, and a dream of becoming a pilot like her dad. "Mom, Dad." Every time they went to the airport to watch planes, Lily chirped, "One day, I'll fly the biggest one in the world." Michael hugged her. "I believe you will. I'll design the plane, and you'll fly it. Deal?" "Deal," Lily beamed. That November, Catherine and Lily flew back to Seattle to visit her parents. Michael stayed in Los Angeles for work, planning to pick them up on the weekend. On Friday afternoon, he went to LAX, a bouquet of roses for Catherine, a teddy bear for Lily. He stood in the arrivals area, checked his watch, smiling as he waited for the moment he could hold his two beloveds. Then the announcement came over the speakers. Flight 447 from Seattle has had an incident. Michael's heart sank. He rushed to the information desk. The staff looked at him with pity. "I'm so sorry, sir." The plane crashed on landing. A technical failure. No survivors. Catherine, Lily, along with 143 others, gone in an instant. Michael barely remembers the days that followed. He remembers bringing back 2 coffins, one large, one small. He remembers the funeral. He remembers the words, "Our condolences." Everything blurred like a long nightmare. He didn't cry or scream. He just stood in front of 2 graves, staring at 2 cold headstones, and felt empty. Empty to the core. 2 months later, Michael left Boeing. Colleagues were shocked. "You're the best engineer. Why quit?" He only said, "I need a change." In truth, he couldn't do it anymore. He couldn't watch planes take off. Every time he did, he saw the flight that had taken his wife and child. He sold the house in Seattle, moved to Los Angeles, looked for the simplest work possible: maintenance, repairs, gardening, anything that didn't require him to think, anything that didn't require him to feel. Because if he felt, he would go insane. 9 months after David died, Grace needed a maintenance manager for the estate. The previous one had retired. She posted the job, interviewed a few candidates, none fit. Then Michael Donnelly's resume appeared. A strange CV, formerly a senior aerospace engineer at Boeing, now applying for maintenance at 1/10 the pay. Grace's assistant frowned. Overqualified, suspicious. Could be a scam. But Grace decided to interview him. The interview took place in the home office. Grace sat behind a walnut desk, black suit, hair in a tight bun, face cool. Michael walked in, 6'1", broad-shouldered, but thinner than before. Simple white shirt, khakis, worn shoes, a once handsome face now gaunt, blue eyes empty. Grace flipped through the file. "You were a senior aerospace engineer?" "Yes." "Why did you quit?" Michael paused. "I needed a change." A change or an escape? The question was sharp as a blade. Michael looked up for the first time. Their eyes met, and both recognized something achingly familiar in the other. pain. Pain so deep it defied words. Maybe both, Michael said truthfully. Normally, Grace would have declined on the spot. But there was something in his voice, the sincerity, the quiet grief that made her feel understood. "You can start Monday," she said. Michael nodded. "Thank you, ma'am." He stood to leave. Grace called after him. "Michael." He turned. "Someone hurt you," she said softly. "I won't ask who, but I know the feeling of wanting to run, to do something simple just so you don't have to think." Michael was surprised. Grace continued, "This house needs care. More importantly, I need someone who doesn't ask, doesn't judge, just work and leave me be. Can you do that?" "I can," Michael replied. "Good." From that day, Michael Donnelly became part of the Ellington estate. For the first 6 months, they barely spoke. Michael arrived at 7, fixed what needed fixing, tended the garden, checked the utilities, and left at 6. Quiet, efficient, and bothering no one. Grace paid on time, didn't complain, didn't ask personal questions. 2 strangers sharing a space without truly stepping into each other's worlds. Until one day, one late autumn afternoon, Grace came home early with a headache. On her way upstairs, she heard crying in the backyard. Sophie, then 4, sat under the oak tree, hugging her teddy, sobbing. Grace should have gone to hold her daughter, but her legs felt rooted. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to comfort, because she herself was in pieces. Michael appeared. He'd been pruning. Hearing the crying, he set down the shears and walked over. "What's wrong, Sophie?" His voice was gentle and warm, none of his usual chill. Sophie looked up, tears streaming. "Mister, I miss my dad." Michael sat down beside her. He didn't speak right away. He just stayed. Sophie hiccuped. "I don't understand why he doesn't come back. All my friends have dads. I don't. I want him to come back." Michael closed his eyes, the pain etched across his face, then said quietly, "I lost my daughter too." Sophie froze, staring at him. "Really?" "Yes. Her name was Lily. 8 years old, smart, joyful, like you." "Where is she now?" "In the sky." His voice trembled. "With her mom. They died in an accident." Sophie was silent, then asked, "Are you sad?" "Yes, every day." "I'm sad too." Michael opened his arms. Sophie crawled into them and held tight. 2 people, a 41-year-old man and a 4-year-old girl, sat under an oak tree and shared their grief. From the window, Grace watched, tears breaking like a dam. For the first time in 2 years, she cried. Not because she missed David, but because she realized her child needed someone to listen. And that someone wasn't her, but a stranger, a maintenance man, a person who hurt as she did, yet could still give the gentleness she no longer had. That evening, as Michael was leaving, Grace called to him, "Michael, I want to thank you." "For what, ma'am?" "For being there for Sophie, when I couldn't." He was silent, then said, "I only did what I wish someone had done for Lily." Grace choked up. "I'm very sorry about your daughter, and I'm very sorry about your husband." They both fell quiet. Then Grace said, "Maybe we're more alike than I thought." "Maybe," he replied. From then on, the relationship changed. Michael still handled maintenance, but he also became a friend, a listener, someone who understood. He played ball with Oliver, taught Emma to fix her bike, read to Sophie. The children adored him, calling Uncle Michael with genuine smiles, the kind that had vanished the day David left. And Grace? She began to talk to him. Not much, just a few words about work, the weather, the kids. Sometimes, on quiet afternoons, They sat in the garden, drank coffee, and said nothing. Because they didn't need words, they understood each other in silence. It was a strange bond. Not quite friendship, not yet love. A thread between two shattered souls who found solace in shared pain. Grace hadn't noticed it yet, because then Patrick Ellis walked in. And everything changed. A year after David's death, Grace agreed to attend a charity event in Santa Monica. She didn't want to go, but the company needed her image. She wore a black Valentino dress, light makeup, and the social smile that had become habit. At the bar, a man approached. Patrick Ellis, 45, 6 foot, distinguished salt and pepper hair. Elegant suit, Patek Philippe watch, just the right amount of confident smile. Grace Hollander, right? Yes. Can I help you? Patrick Ellis. He offered his hand. I invest in real estate. I've heard a lot about you. Grace shook it politely. Thank you. Patrick didn't leave. I'm very sorry for your loss. Your husband, David, I read about him. A talented architect. Grace paused. People usually avoided that topic. Thank you. No, I mean it. Patrick softened his tone. I lost someone. 2. My ex-wife, to cancer, 5 years ago. Grace was surprised. I'm very sorry. That's why I understand, he said. The feeling that the world keeps spinning while you stand still. Exactly. Just what Grace had been carrying inside. They talked. Patrick was pleasant, humorous, not overbearing. He spoke about work, travels, lessons learned from grief. The hardest part, he said, is the loneliness. Not because there's no one around, but because no one truly understands. Grace nodded. That's true. Patrick looked into her eyes. But I think you understand, don't you? Maybe. They exchanged numbers. From that day, Patrick texted. In the first weeks, it was just checking in, sharing, nothing too intimate. Then Patrick asked her to dinner. She hesitated, but agreed. A fine restaurant in Beverly Hills. Patrick was courteous, pulled out her chair, ordered what suited her, kept the conversation tasteful. Have you thought about dating? He asked gently. Grace shook her head. Not yet. I'm not ready. I understand, Patrick nodded, but opening your heart isn't betraying the one you lost. It's how you keep living. Don't die with them. Those words struck the softest place in Grace. She knew she'd been dying a little every day. Maybe Patrick was right. Maybe she should try. They began to date. Patrick seemed like the perfect man. Punctual, thoughtful, bringing flowers, remembering small details. More importantly, he seemed to care about the kids. The first time he met Emma, Oliver, and Sophie, Patrick brought gifts. A doll for Sophie, a soccer ball for Oliver, new headphones for Emma. Uncle Patrick, Sophie giggled. You're so nice. Patrick knelt to her eye level. I want to be friends with Sophie. May I? Yes. Seeing that, Grace's heart warmed. Maybe this was the gift after the storm. A good man, a second father for her children. 6 months later, Patrick proposed. Nothing flashy, just a dinner at the Ellington estate. He knelt, opened a diamond ring. Grace, I know I can't replace David, but I want to be by your side, to love you and the children. Will you give me the chance to do that? Grace looked at the ring, at Patrick, at the 3 children standing on the stairs, eyes shining. She didn't love Patrick. Not yet. But she believed she could learn to love. More importantly, she thought the children needed a father. Okay, she whispered. I accept. The kids cheered. Patrick kissed her hand. Everything seemed perfect. Out in the garden, Michael watched through the window, his heart twisting. Not because he loved Grace. He didn't dare love anyone after losing Catherine. But because the instinct of an engineer who once analyzed everything with precision told him something about Patrick Ellis wasn't right. The smile was too perfect. The words too smooth. The way he looked at the children. Not with love, but like an equation. Michael said nothing. He was just an employee, not family, with no right to interfere. He only hoped he was wrong. But he wasn't. The wedding took place in the spring. Simple, with only family and close friends. Grace wore a white Vera Wang gown, not as extravagant as her wedding with David, but elegant. Patrick wore a gray suit, his smile radiant. Emma was the bridesmaid, Sophie scattered flowers, and Oliver held the rings. When the pastor said, "You may kiss the bride," Patrick kissed Grace. Everyone applauded. At the far end of the garden, Michael stood still. He didn't clap. He only watched. And the unease inside him grew heavier with every passing minute. In the first weeks, Patrick acted like the perfect husband. He moved into the mansion, rearranged a few rooms, bought new furniture, saying he wanted to refresh the space. Grace didn't object. She wanted to forget the painful past, wanted a new beginning. Patrick ate dinner with the family, asked the children about school. He praised Emma for being smart, praised Oliver for being brave, and told Sophie she was adorable. The children liked him, calling him Daddy Patrick. Grace felt relieved. Maybe she had made the right choice. Maybe the kids would be happy again. But then the small changes began. By the second month, Patrick started setting rules. "Emma, you should study more. You're 12 now. You need to get serious about your future." Emma nodded. "Yes, Dad." "Oliver, less video games. They make you lazy." Oliver lowered his eyes. "Okay." "Sophie, you're big now. Stop crying all the time." Sophie bit her lip. "I'm sorry." Grace thought it was normal discipline. Kids needed boundaries. David had rules, too. But something felt different. Patrick's tone. No warmth, only commands. Then Patrick started fixing mistakes. Oliver dropped a glass of water. Just clumsy. Nothing more. Patrick didn't yell, but his voice was freezing cold. "You're too careless. Your mother works hard to buy all these nice things, and you just break them." Oliver trembled. "I'm sorry." "Sorry isn't enough. You need to learn. Go clean it up." Grace watched, uneasy. But she stayed silent, because technically Patrick wasn't wrong. Children should learn responsibility. One afternoon, Emma came home 10 minutes late due to traffic. Patrick met her at the door, unsmiling. "Why are you late?" "There was traffic." "Did you tell your mother?" "I forgot." "Forgot?" Patrick frowned. "You know how busy your mother is, and you made her worry." Emma lowered her head. "I'm sorry. Next time, inform her. Understand?" "Yes, sir." Patrick patted her head. Not gently, but like stamping authority. Sophie cried because she was bullied at school. Patrick knelt down, but didn't hug her. "Why are you crying again? You're older now." "But they teased me." "The world doesn't care if you cry. You need to be strong. Weakness gets you looked down on." "But I'm scared." "Enough. Go to your room. Think of how to be stronger." Sophie ran upstairs, sobbing. Grace wanted to follow, but Patrick held her arm. "You spoil them too much. It's time to teach them properly." Grace hesitated. "But Sophie is still little." "The younger they are, the earlier they should be trained. Or do you want them to grow up weak?" Grace fell silent. Maybe Patrick was right. Maybe she had been too soft. But Michael noticed everything. He saw Sophie crying in the garden, saw Oliver looking at Patrick with fear, saw Emma growing quieter by the day. He wanted to warn Grace. But what would he say? "Your husband is a bit strict." That didn't sound like a crime. So he only observed and hoped he was wrong. By the third month, Grace traveled more often. The company was expanding, and she had to fly to San Francisco, New York, even Tokyo. Patrick said, "Go. I can handle the house." Grace felt grateful. "Are you sure?" "Of course. I'll take good care of the kids." She kissed him. "Thank you." The first night Grace was gone, Patrick changed. Completely. Oliver was doing homework, wrote a word wrong, erased it, and wrote again. Patrick stood behind him. "Wrote it wrong?" "Yes, but I erased it." "Erased?" Patrick yanked the paper away. "Do you know how much this paper costs? How hard your mother works to buy it?" "I'm sorry." "Sorry is not enough." He threw the paper down. "Write it again. And don't make any mistakes this time. If you do, write it 100 times. Oliver's hand shook so violently, he made another mistake. Patrick stared. "Wrong again." I didn't mean to. 100 times. Now, you can sleep after you finish." "But I'm sleepy." "I don't care," Patrick barked. "Your mother feeds you and sends you to school, and you're lazy?" "Right," Oliver sobbed, trembling as he wrote. Emma finished her homework and was watching TV. Patrick turned off the TV. "Are you really done?" "Yes." "Show me." He looked at her notebook. "This answer is wrong." "But I checked." "Wrong is wrong." He threw her notebook onto the floor. "Go to your room. Don't come down until you fix it. No dinner." "But I'm hungry." "Hungry?" Patrick sneered. "Good. Hunger helps you learn. Go." Emma ran upstairs, eyes red. Patrick locked her door from the outside. "Daddy, Patrick!" Emma banged on the door. "Please open." "When you finish, I'll open." But the answer wasn't wrong at all. Emma knew. Patrick only wanted to punish. Sophie didn't finish dinner because she was full. Patrick looked at her plate. "Why didn't you finish?" "I'm full." "Full?" He shoved the spoon back. "Your mother cooks for you, and you dare waste it?" "I really can't eat anymore." "Finish it, now." "I can't." "Then sit here until you can." Sophie tried to swallow, then gagged. Finally, she vomited. Patrick looked disgusted. "Filthy. Clean it up. Then go to bed. No dessert." Sophie cried as she cleaned the floor, her little hands shaking violently. Michael was fixing a light in the hallway and heard everything. His heart clenched. This wasn't discipline. This was psychological abuse. He wanted to intervene, but if he did, Patrick would fire him. And then no one would be there to protect the children. So he decided, gather evidence, then tell Grace. The next day, Grace called from San Francisco. "How are the kids?" "They're great," Patrick answered sweetly. "They're behaving well. Don't worry." After hanging up, Patrick called the children to the living room. "Your mother just checked in. Now I'll ask, does anyone want to tell her about last night?" All three stayed silent. "No?" Patrick smiled coldly. "Good. Because if any of you dare say a word, I'll tell your mother you're liars, troublemakers, and I'll recommend sending you to boarding school. Far away from her, far away from home. Do you want that?" All three shook their heads frantically. "Good. So when your mother asks, what do you say?" I say everything is fine," Emma whispered. "Smart. And the two of you?" "Yes," Oliver and Sophie echoed. "Good. Go play. And remember, I'm always watching." The threats didn't happen once. They happened every day. "Your mother loves me more. If you upset me, she'll choose me. Your mother is tired of raising you. Don't disappoint her again. Your real father is dead. No one wants you. Only me and your mother." Those knives sank deep into young minds. They began believing they were burdens, They began fearing their mother didn't love them. They began thinking the truth meant losing everything. Emma, 12, became silent. No more stories about school, no more smiles. Only studying, chores, trying desperately not to make mistakes. Oliver, 9, stopped playing with friends. He feared coming home late, feared Patrick's anger. He grew withdrawn, timid. Sophie, 6, had nightmares every night. She dreamed of Patrick locking her in, leaving her alone. She woke up crying, but never dared to scream. Patrick had forbidden it. And Michael? He watched the 3 children wither day by day, and it tore him apart. Because he saw Lily in them, the child he couldn't save. But this time was different. This time, he wouldn't let tragedy repeat. He made up his mind. He had to act. He had to save them, no matter the cost. Michael was not the type to act impulsively. He had once been an engineer. What he did best was observe, analyze, plan, and calculate risks. He understood that if he simply went to Grace with nothing in hand, Patrick would deny everything instantly. He would claim Michael was jealous and trying to ruin their marriage. And who would Grace believe? Her new husband or an employee? No. He needed hard evidence, something undeniable. In the first week, Michael only watched silently and kept records. He maintained a detailed journal. November 5th, Patrick forced Oliver to write lines 100 times and forbade him from sleeping until 2 a.m. November 7th, Patrick locked Emma in her room from 7 p.m. until 8 a.m. The next morning, just for doing her homework wrong. November 10th, Patrick made Sophie kneel on the cold stone floor for an hour because she cried. But writing wasn't enough. He needed visuals. Michael began to install micro cameras. It wasn't easy, because the mansion had its own security system, but he had been an engineer. He knew how to do things cleanly, invisibly. He bought micro cameras online and hid them in objects no one would suspect. One in the clock on the living room shelf. One inside a picture frame in the hallway. One inside a faux flower vase on the dining table. Patrick never noticed. He was too confident, and he underestimated Michael completely. In the first week of footage, the videos already captured damning scenes. Patrick shouting directly into Oliver's face just because the boy dropped a pen. Patrick shoving Emma against a wall for talking back. Patrick forcing Sophie to stand in a corner for an hour without moving. Still not enough. Michael needed something Patrick could not twist: his face, his behavior, and his voice while saying those cruel things. One Friday night, Grace was on a business trip to Denver. Patrick stayed home with the kids. Michael intentionally stayed late, pretending to check the water system, when in fact he was observing. At 8 p.m., Patrick called the children downstairs to the living room. "I checked your rooms," he said. "Emma's room is messy. Oliver has stains on his floor. Sophie's toys are everywhere." "We're sorry," Emma said. "We'll clean them up right now." "Sorry," Patrick smirked. "You kids are always sorry, but you never fix anything." "We'll try." "Trying isn't enough," he roared, making all 3 of them flinch. "Your mother works herself to the bone to raise you. This house, your clothes, your schools, and what do you give her in return?" "Laziness, uselessness," Oliver cried. "We're not—" "Shut up," Patrick snapped, turning sharply to him. "Do you think your mother needs you? She needs me. And you? You're burdens." Sophie burst into tears. "I want to see my daddy." Patrick bent down, face level with hers, his voice cold as ice. "Your daddy is dead. He left your mother alone. And you dare cry?" Sophie sobbed harder. "Kneel," Patrick ordered. "All 3 of you." They hesitated. I said kneel. The children dropped to their knees on the cold stone floor, hands folded in front of their chests. You will stay there until I say otherwise. 10 minutes, all night. I decide. Clear? Yes, the three whispered, voices trembling. Patrick sat on the sofa, sipped his whiskey, and scrolled through his phone, completely ignoring the three kneeling children before him. 20 minutes passed. Oliver whimpered softly. My knees hurt. Quiet, Patrick barked without looking up. Say one more word, and I add an hour. Oliver bit his lip, tears streaming down his face. Behind the door, hidden in the darkness of the hallway, Michael was filming. Phone fixed in place, clear frame, crisp audio. This was it, undeniable evidence. But as he watched the children trembling on the floor, Michael's own tears fell. He saw Lily, his 8-year-old daughter with her sunshine smile, in those shaking silhouettes. He had been helpless once, not this time. After 45 minutes, Patrick stood. Enough, stand up. The children clung to each other as they rose, their knees red and bruised. Go to your rooms. No bedtime snacks. You don't deserve any. They ran upstairs, sobbing. Patrick poured more whiskey, smirking. Michael ended the recording. That was enough. He had the proof. Now all he needed was for Grace to return, and to show her the truth. The next morning, Patrick went out. The children were at school. Michael was fixing the fence when Emma came home early. She didn't go inside, but sat on the swing, staring blankly at the grass. Michael approached gently. Rough day? Emma startled, quickly wiping her tears. I'm fine, Uncle Michael. You don't have to pretend with me. Emma was silent for a moment, then asked, voice trembling, Do you think I'm a burden? Michael sat beside her. Why would you think that? Daddy Patrick says we make Mom tired. He says Mom only needs him, not us. Michael's chest tightened. Emma, listen to me. You are not a burden. You're the best thing in your mother's life. Then why doesn't she see how Daddy Patrick treats us? Because he hides it well. But I see it. I know everything. Emma looked up, eyes red. You really know? Yes, and I'm going to help you. But Daddy Patrick said if we tell, he'll send us to boarding school, far away. We won't see Mom anymore. He lied, Michael said firmly. You belong to your mother. She will never send you away. Understand? Emma bit her lip. But I'm scared. I know, but you must trust me. I have evidence. I'll show your mother. Everything will change. Do you promise? Michael took her hand. I promise. I won't let anyone hurt you again. Emma threw her arms around him and sobbed. Michael wrapped his arms around her, like holding Lily once more. This time, tragedy would not repeat. This time, he would protect them. That morning, Grace was at her Los Angeles office, preparing for an important meeting with the Tokyo partners. Everything was going smoothly. The contract was about to be signed, but throughout the morning, she couldn't focus. A restless, uneasy feeling crept into her chest, not because of work, but because of something deeper, something she couldn't quite name. She glanced at her phone. The only message from Emma that morning appeared. Mom, I miss you. Just a few short words. But beneath them was a quiet sadness that made Grace's heart tighten. She immediately called Emma back. No one picked up. She called Oliver. No answer. She called home. Patrick answered. You called? His voice was gentle. Are the kids okay? They're great. They're studying. Don't worry. Are you sure? Emma sent a message. It felt different. Patrick let out a soft laugh. Emma's fine. She just misses you. You're overthinking. Grace wanted to believe him, but instinct, The mother's intuition she had tried to quiet for so long whispered in her mind, "Something's wrong. Something is very wrong." Ignoring her assistant's protests, she canceled her entire schedule and drove straight to Beverly Hills. Her hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel. She didn't know what she was running from, only that she needed to get home, immediately. The front doors of the Ellington mansion swung open. The space inside was eerily silent. Too quiet. Grace stepped in, her heels tapping softly on the marble floor. No sound answered. No laughter. No TV. No children. She had just opened her mouth to call out when a hand suddenly clamped over her mouth from behind. Grace jerked violently, almost screaming, but then she heard a low, urgent voice, trembling. "Ma'am, please don't say anything. Stay quiet." She turned. It was Michael. His eyes were wide, his face tense, sweat glistening at his temples. "Michael, what are you doing?" Grace whispered, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry," he said quickly, "but if he knows you're home, your children will be in danger." "My children?" Grace choked. "Where are they?" Michael pointed toward the living room. Grace peered through the narrow gap, and her heart stopped. The 3 children were kneeling on the cold stone floor. Patrick stood before them, whiskey glass in hand, his voice echoing through the room. "You kids are a burden. Your mother only needs me." Grace went numb. She turned to Michael, lips trembling. How long?" "Since the 2nd month after he moved in," Michael replied, voice tight. "A year. Nearly a year. Her children had lived in hell, and she had known nothing. Grace wanted to storm in, to scream, to tear everything apart. But Michael gripped her shoulder firmly. "Not yet," he whispered. "You need evidence. If he knows you found out before you have anything solid, he'll twist the story." "Do you have evidence?" Michael nodded and handed her his phone. "I recorded it, all week." Grace watched the screen. Clip after clip. Patrick yelling, shoving Oliver, forcing Sophie to kneel, speaking venomous words. Her tears fell uncontrollably. "You're right," she whispered. "I won't let him get away with this." Grace walked straight into the living room, Michael close behind. Patrick turned, startled. "Grace? You're home early?" The children looked at their mother, fear in their eyes, mixed with a flicker of hope. "Stand up," Grace said, her voice low and cold. "Kids, get up." Patrick forced a laugh. "What are you doing?" "I'm just teaching them some discipline." "Discipline?" Grace stepped closer. "Or abuse?" "What are you?" "I know everything, Patrick." She looked at Michael. "Show me." Patrick's face drained of color. "What? What is he doing here?" "He works here, and he saw everything." Michael played the video. Patrick's voice rang out, "You kids are a burden. Your mother only needs me." Then the footage of Patrick shoving Oliver, making Sophie kneel. Patrick swallowed hard but tried to compose himself. "This is fake. Edited. Stop lying," Grace shouted, tears spilling. "I see your face. I hear your voice." Patrick turned on Michael, snarling, "You dared record me?" "My house," Grace cut in, "and you, Patrick Ellis, are about to be thrown out of it." Patrick switched tactics, softening his voice. "Grace, you're being manipulated. He wants to destroy our marriage." "Don't drag Michael into this!" Grace pointed straight at him. "You destroyed it yourself." Patrick turned to the children, oily and coaxing. "Emma, tell your mother. Has Dad Patrick ever treated you badly?" Emma trembled, looked at Patrick, then at her mother. A long, heavy silence. Finally, her voice cracked. I hate you. You made us kneel. You said Dad didn't love us. You said Mom would leave us. I'm scared of you. Oliver and Sophie broke into tears, nodding frantically. Patrick stumbled back a step. His face went ghostly pale. Grace straightened, her voice firm. "You have 24 hours to get out of this house. Pack your things and leave." "You can't. I'm your husband." "This marriage is over. My lawyer will send the papers." Patrick clenched his jaw, glared at Michael. "You think you've won? You're just a cheap repairman." Michael replied calmly, "I don't need to win or lose. I just need the kids to be safe." Patrick turned to Grace, voice dripping poison. "You'll regret this, Grace. No one wants a woman dragging 3 kids." Grace met his eyes without blinking. "I'd rather be alone than live with a monster." The door slammed, and in that moment, after nearly a year of suffocating fear, the Ellington mansion seemed to exhale. For the first time, Grace felt truly free. That night, Grace didn't let the kids sleep alone. All 4 of them lay together on the big bed in her room, the bed that, ever since David died, she had always slept in with one cold, empty side. Emma sobbed in her mother's arms. "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have told you sooner." "No," Grace held her tighter. "I'm the one who should apologize. I wasn't there. I let you endure this alone. From now on, I promise, I will always be here." Oliver asked quietly, "Will Uncle Patrick come back?" "No, sweetheart, never." Sophie threw her arms around her mother's neck. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too. I love all 3 of you very much." They slept, for the first time in months, without nightmares, because they knew they were safe. They were together. The next morning, Grace found Michael in the tool shed. "Michael," he turned. "Ma'am, I want to thank you. If it weren't for you, I don't dare imagine what would have happened." Her voice caught. Michael shook his head. "I only did what was right." "No," Grace stepped closer. "You did more than that. You protected my children when I was blind." She paused, meeting his eyes. "Why did you do it?" Michael was silent for a long time, then said, "Because I once lost a child, and I can't let that happen to any other child." "You have a child?" He nodded, eyes glistening. "Lily, 8 years old. She died with my wife in a plane crash." Grace laid a hand on his shoulder, heart breaking. "Michael, I didn't know. I'm so sorry." "It's all right," he said, wiping his tears. "But when I look at Emma, Oliver, and Sophie, I see my little girl. I couldn't save Lily, but I can save them." Grace began to cry. 2 people, 2 wounded souls, stood quietly in the cool morning air, sharing a pain that needed no words. "You are the best man I've ever known," Grace said, her voice shaking, "and I will never forget what you've done." Michael nodded slightly. "They deserve to be happy. And so do you." The first week after Patrick left was anything but easy. Emma still startled at the sound of heavy footsteps. She feared he would come back. Every night she checked the door latch several times, even though Grace had told her no one would ever lock it again. Oliver was still afraid of making mistakes. If he dropped a glass, he would stand frozen, trembling, waiting to be scolded. But Grace only hugged him. "It's okay, honey. It's just a glass." Sophie still had nightmares. She would jolt awake at night, sobbing, "Mommy, I'm scared." And each time, Grace was there, holding her close, humming softly until she fell back asleep. Grace cut her workload in half and delegated to her deputy. She turned down all unnecessary meetings. From now on, family was the priority. Every morning, they ate breakfast together. No rushing, no phones. Just listening. Little dreams, tiny plans for the day. In the afternoon, Grace herself drove to the school gate to pick them up. The first time she showed up waiting, Emma was startled. You're picking me up, Mom? Yes. From now on, if work isn't urgent, I'll be the one picking you up. Emma smiled, the first genuine smile in months. I love that, Mom. Evenings, the family gathered at the table. No more heavy dinners, just laughter, conversation, and sharing. Oliver talked about his match. Sophie showed off her new drawing. Emma read a paragraph she'd written. And Grace truly listened, looking into each child's eyes, asking more, caring. Are you happy, Mommy? Sophie asked, looking up. Grace smiled, eyes brimming. I'm very happy, because I have you. Michael kept working at the mansion, but now he wasn't just the maintenance manager, he was part of the family. He taught Oliver to fix his bike. See? Turn the bolt this way. Slowly. Don't rush. Oliver followed, tongue peeking out in concentration. When it worked, he shouted, I did it, Uncle Michael! Great job! Michael patted his shoulder. You did it yourself. The confident smile returned to the boy's face. He helped Emma with her science project. What do you want to do it on? Airplanes. But I don't know much. Michael smiled. I used to be an aerospace engineer. Want me to help? Emma's eyes lit up. Really? Really? We'll build a model plane together. For a week, they measured, cut, glued. They talked about aerodynamics, wing shapes, lift. You know so much, Emma marveled. I'm just sharing what I know, Michael said. And you're smart. You're going to do amazing things. Emma hugged him. Thank you. You're like a second dad. Michael hugged her back, eyes stinging. For the first time since losing Lily, he felt like a father again. With Sophie, he told bedtime stories, not the usual fairy tales, but ones he spun himself, about a brave girl named Sophie who fought dragons called Fear and found the light. And then Sophie realized, Michael said, voice warm and low, she didn't have to be afraid of the dark anymore, because she had a family who loved her. She had her mom, her brother and sister, and good friends. Where there's love, there's always light. Sophie listened, rapt. Am I the brave Sophie? Yes, you're the bravest Sophie I've ever known. I love you, Uncle. I love you too. 6 months after Patrick left, life settled. The children were healthy and cheerful. The Ellington mansion, once cold, now brimmed with laughter. Grace realized something. Michael was always there. Up early for the garden, afternoons playing with the kids, evenings fixing small things. Really, looking for excuses to stay nearby. And then she understood. She wasn't just grateful. She was moved. One evening, with the kids in bed, Grace stepped into the garden. Michael sat on a bench, gazing up at the starry sky. You're not heading home yet? Grace asked softly. I'm looking at the stars. It's been a long time. Why didn't you before? Because after Catherine and Lily died, I didn't dare look up. It reminded me of airplanes, of the crash. And now it's different. I remember not only how they died, but the wonderful life we had. Grace was quiet for a moment, then said, Thank you, Michael. For what? For everything. For saving my children. For staying. For helping me find myself again. Moonlight spilled over the garden, and in each other's eyes they saw something very calm. Not a storm, not a blazing passion, but the deep connection of two hearts once broken, now knitting back together. Grace, Michael said gently, I need to say this. What is it? I'm not sure this is the right time, but I think I have feelings for you. Grace's heart surged. You have feelings for me? He nodded. For a long time. but I didn't dare say it. Because I'm just the hired help? And you're Grace Hollander. Grace smiled, eyes misting. I'm not Grace Hollander anymore. I'm just Grace, a single mother. A woman who made mistakes and is trying to live again. And I'm just Michael, he smiled sadly. A man who lost his wife and child, who thought he'd never love again. Thought? Grace asked softly. Until I met you. So did I, Grace whispered. They sat together, hand in hand, under the stars. No rush, no labels, simply letting hope grow. The following week, Grace invited Michael to dinner, not as staff, but as family. He was shy at first, but the kids welcomed him as if it had always been that way. Uncle Michael, sit next to me, Sophie tugged a chair. Uncle, I got a perfect score in math today, Oliver beamed. Awesome, Michael clapped. I'm proud of you. Emma watched quietly. She understood more, and faster, than adults realized. After dinner, as Michael was about to leave, Emma called out, Uncle Michael. What is it, Emma? You like my mom, don't you? Michael froze, then decided not to dodge it. Yes, I like your mom. Emma was silent a beat, then smiled. I like that. Really? Because you're kind. You're not like Patrick. You truly care about us. Michael knelt to meet her eyes. I love you kids like my own. I will never hurt you. Emma hugged him. I know. I want you to stay. With us. With Mom. That night, Grace sat down with all three. Kids, I want to ask you something. How do you feel about Uncle Michael? Sophie chirped, I like him. He tells me bedtime stories. Oliver nodded. He taught me to fix my bike. He's awesome. Emma looked at her mother. You like him too, don't you? Grace smiled. Yes, I do. Then that's great, Emma exhaled, because we like him too. And we just want you to be happy. Grace pulled all three into a tight hug, tears falling from happiness. You are the greatest gift of my life. Michael and Grace didn't rush. They both understood this relationship needed time to heal, to rebuild trust. They began dating seriously, evening walks along the Malibu shore, early morning coffees in the rustling garden, long talks about the past, the pain, and the hopes ahead. I used to think I'd never love anyone again, Michael said one night as they sat on the sand, watching the waves roll in. So did I, Grace replied. After David, I thought my heart had died. It didn't die, Michael squeezed her hand. It was just waiting for the right person. Grace smiled. And are you the right person? I can't claim that I am, he said honestly, but I know I'll do everything I can to love you, to love the kids, to never let you down. That's enough. Grace rested her head on his shoulder. You don't have to be perfect, only genuine. They sat there, listening to the sea, soaking in the peace they had searched for so long. This isn't just the story of a billionaire woman and a maintenance man. It's a reminder. Do not stay silent when you see something wrong. Listen to your children. Sometimes a child's silence is the loudest cry for help. Forgive yourself. Everyone makes mistakes. Strength is knowing how to stand back up. And it is never too late to love again. Even when the heart has been shattered, it can still heal. If you're living in pain, please don't give up. Happiness sometimes arrives from where you least expect it. If you see a child being hurt, be brave like Michael. Your silence can prolong their suffering. If you are a parent, be there, truly be there, because love is the greatest gift. Grace and Michael found each other amid the ruins and built a new home. You can too. Never lose hope. Thank you for following this story. If it touched your heart, share it with those you love. And remember, Love always triumphs over darkness.